Welcome to the Liberty Beacon Rant. And as usual, I'm joined by my co-host, Paula Mathers. How are you tonight, Paula?
Doing great. I missed working with you.
Well, we've been absent for about a month now. And part of the reason is there's some major changes that are coming down the road for the Liberty Beacon Project, and they're all good. As I told everybody before, we've launched a new website, which makes this our third website, and we're in the process right now of planning and designing a social website. And it's not going to be the type of forum where you show baby pictures and you talk about the party you went to last night. It's going to be for all the patriots who support the Liberty Beacon Project. It'll be a place for you to come and talk, a place for where you can do your own internet television shows and your own podcast shows, because all of the mechanisms that will allow you to do this will be part of this social site, and they won't cost you a penny. So if your group or your page wants to have a podcast show or wants to do, because we will have live video chat and it will be recordable. So you can, in essence, do an internet television show. It is recordable. You can bring 4 or 5 guests in. They'll each have their own box. You can control the boxes, who appears, when they appear. And we'll go over that probably within the next 4 to 6 weeks as that develops a little bit more.
That's so exciting. All the stuff that's happening with the Liberty Beacon. It's just exciting news.
Well, the thing of it is, if you've got a 500-member group or a 300-member group, and you don't have a lot of funds because you're not asking people for money, people don't contribute money in a group, but you all have a great idea and you all think alike. Wouldn't you like to have a venue that you can be a member of, that you can go in and make an admin group for your particular group on Facebook? And from there, you can set up your own podcast show or set up your own internet TV show with your ideas and your ideals. And you don't have to fork out any money for this. This is something, we've been planning for a while, but the best laid plans of mice and men aren't always achievable in the significant time frame you set down. So we've had a few false starts here and there, but things are well on track. Of course, you all know that we're launching, and we've even stalled launching the new website. It's already up. We just haven't really populated it yet, and that's the Falling Darkness. And as I explained on our last show, if the Liberty Beacon is the center of the Liberty Beacon Project, then the Falling Darkness is the edge of the Liberty Beacon Project. And by the edge, I mean this is where we will push the limits. Now, that said, anybody who's listened to me in the past, and Paula's got her mic muted, but she'll probably chuckle when I say this. When I say the edge, I don't mean bullshit. Because I have an open challenge, and I state it every week. Anything I say that you feel you can challenge, please do so. Keep me on my toes. We've done 7 shows to date, a 6-show series and a summary, and nothing has been challenged. We at the Liberty Beacon Project do our homework. If we pass bad information on, then our credibility goes down the tubes at the speed of light.
Absolutely.
You're right, Paula. And it takes 10 seconds to lose credibility, and it takes 10 weeks to get it back. So I'd rather not go down that path. Whereas I might not always have all the facts that I state. If I say this is a fact, it's because I know it is. If I don't say it's a fact, if I say I believe or I presume or I feel that, then that is an assumption I'm making. And it's an educated assumption, but that doesn't mean it's gospel. And if any one of our listeners can go out and dig up some information or reiterate a point I made and amplify on it, that makes us happy. Because it means we're motivating you to actually do something. You'll have to excuse me, I'm getting over a sore throat. But at this point, I'm really tired very tired of armchair warriors. I'm very tired of the people who constantly hit your posts, whether they're on your website, no matter which website of ours they're on, whether they're on in any of our Facebook forums, whatever. And they constantly hit you and they challenge everything you say. But they don't put any information themselves down. In other words, they're not doing any research. They're challenging you to continue to do more and more and more and more by amplifying your questions or digging into the information you put there, but they refuse to do any of their own. And these people are very easy to spot because the first thing I usually throw in there when somebody throws a half a dozen questions at me, challenging something I've said is, well, let me hear your point of view. Let me see the research you've done. Guess what happens, Paula?
It goes quiet.
The voice goes quiet.
You have
Crickets.
all this information that you'll back up. You give them link after link, places to go, and until someone can do that back, I welcome the day we could do that.
And I am never going to tell anybody that I'm always right because, damn it, I'm not. But if I say this is a fact, my God, you got to know how much research we've done. And it's not all my research. The Liberty Beacon Project has a lot of really, really good contributors.
Absolutely.
And if you go to the website, you can see them. Just look at the articles they post. Look at the personal research they do. Where do you think I glean this research from? To talk about everything I talk about with the presupposed knowledge that I use to talk about it. If I was to do that all myself, I'd never get any sleep. I'd never do this radio show. I'd never take a shower. I'd never go to the bathroom. I'd never eat, and I'd be dead. I hope you caught all that. But anyway, I'm going to do a real quick recap, and then we're going to get into the topic for today, which is the 4 weapons of mass destruction humanity may not survive. Now, this is not a topic just for tonight. As we did before, we had a 6-part series on the elite and our government, the connection between the two. And then we did a 7th show to recap. Okay, this is the new series. The 4 weapons of mass destruction humanity may not survive. And of course, Paula, if anybody who's in the chat groups for either venue that's putting this show out, the link is available. I always do an article and publish it and then do a show on that article. That shows you, that gives you faith that I've done some research because you can actually see the links. You can see what I write about it. You see where my assumptions come from. You see what I base my information on. So that is the credibility factor. And I will continue to do that. I will always base a show on an article that's been published. In this case, this article was published well over a month ago, and it was updated and republished a couple of days ago. I like to do that. If I have an article that really puts forward some good information, but the information is time sensitive, then I will go and I will grab that article once a month, once every other week, and I will update it, and then I will put the link back up. In this case, we're talking about perpetual warfare. Okay, we're talking about vaccines, we're talking about GMOs, and we're talking about chemtrails. And for anybody who believes that any one of these 4 are bullshit, then you're listening to the wrong show. Go have dinner. Go spend some time with your handsome husband or your lovely wife, because this is the wrong show for you. They all exist. They're reality, and we will prove that to you if you're skeptical. And if you're not skeptical, then this is the show you're going to want to listen to. Not only because we're going to present facts, because most of you who are aware of, maybe not all of these, because people go topic specific. Okay, if you really get into chemtrails, then you know a lot about chemtrails, but you might know very little about GMOs. I am, and here we go again, Paula, I am an expert at nothing. But I know enough about everything to have an intelligent conversation about anything. Please understand that. I never claim to be an expert at anything. But I am a jack of all trades. So this is the next 6th show series. And we will do an overview of that tonight. We're not going to get into specifics. We're going to do an overview of each topic, and it's going to follow right along the lines of the article that was written by the same name. Now, before we do that, we're going to do a little recapping because something has happened in the Senate in the last couple of days that absolutely gave me faith in we the people again. Not that I didn't
Awesome.
have any, but Paula, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it boosted my faith, okay? Because I've always had faith in we the people. But we are the sleeping giant that is slow to awaken. Well, you know what? We're getting a kick in the nutsack here. We really are. And if you're a female, that hurts badly. It wakes you up like that. Anyway, I have one of the shows we did in the last series, The Elite and Government Connections to the Elite, or the ties, was about holding our representatives accountable. We see tyranny after tyranny after tyranny being perpetrated against we the people in Congress. We don't have to talk about our president here. We already know where the hell he's coming from. And basically, I just said that, where the hell he's coming from, because I really believe the guy's the devil incarnate. But
Me too.
anyway, so let's fall back on that for a second. That show where we discussed that part of the reason all of this crap is coming down on us is our fault. We do not hold our leaders accountable. A vast majority of the people in this country think their patriotic duty is to vote once every 4 years, or if they're really patriotic, they vote once every 2 years in congressional elections and presidential elections. And then they puff their chest out and they walk into the bar and they ask for a shot and a beer and they pick up their darts or their pool stick and they say, I'm a patriot. Bullshit. And the reason I say that is because the clown you put back into Congress, and 96% of them got sent back. This is after the Patriot Act got renewed, the NDAA got put in, it got renewed, HR 347 got put through Congress. Need I go on? But we sent over 90% of these idiots back to Congress. What do you think they're doing now? The same goddamn thing they did before that election, only now they're bolder because they know your ass is asleep and you're not holding their feet to the fire. You're not holding them accountable. So why should they stop? Why should they worry about you and me? They don't. We talked about the fact that a vast majority of us, and I don't include myself, and maybe not a lot of people in listening to this show, because if you're listening to this show, you have a good idea, basically what we talk about, so you're awake. At least a good part. We don't hold these people accountable. A vast majority of this country are what I call armchair voters, armchair patriots. I dare you to go into any bar or any place social where people even brush on political discussion and ask them this question. How did your senator vote on this? And throw a bill at him. How did your congressman vote on this? And throw a bill at him. Or a House resolution. Or something. And watch the stupid blank look appear on their face. And it
Because
will.
they can't answer it. They don't know.
Because you're right, Paula, they haven't got a freaking clue. And why do you think these people perpetrate this tyranny and perpetuate this tyranny? Because they know you're asleep. Not you and me. When I say you, I'm talking about the vast majority of armchair warriors and patriots in this country. The people you and I and Paula are trying to wake up. The people we work our ass off to educate and light a fire under. They haven't got a clue. Well, something happened over the last couple of days that really, it made my heartbeat speed up. Put a smile on my face. One of the things we're going to be talking about is GMOs. By golly, how I hate that. Those three letters just, it's like sticking pins in my eyes. That's one of the four. Okay? But there was something slipped into the Farm Bill, which appropriated money for that department of the government. And it was called the Monsanto Protection Act. It's not exactly what it was called, but that's what we dubbed it. The only good thing about that was that it only had a shelf life of 3 months because there's no budget. So they have every 3 months or so, you got to come up with another continuing resolution to fund the government. So it came up again. And you know damn right well, if nobody would have said anything, that would have been in that bill, it would have been funded again, and Monsanto and all of the biotech killers out there would have been immune from prosecution until another continuing resolution. And it would have continued on and on. But it didn't. There was a massive outcry from people across this country. 93% of the population in this country is awake and aware, at least on some level, of GMOs, and they want labeling. When 93% of the population wants something, and the government is doing everything they can to do just the opposite. Obama got elected and re-elected. And one of the promises he made in 2007 when he was running for office is, I will get GMOs labeled. People have a right to know what's in their food. And since he's been in office, what has he done? Cronyism. Huge. He's put Monsanto executives into high-level government administrative positions. Positions of power. Positions whereby they can shape and mold the policy that determines what you and I eat. And it's not in your favor or mine. It's in Monsanto's favor. And their biotech buddies. Well, we put a freaking stop to the Monsanto Protection Act. We flooded our senators with calls. We flooded our senators with emails. And we told them, if you want to get reelected, your ass better not be voting for this. Now, not all of them voted against it. As a matter of fact, it wasn't even a vote thing. It was pulled because of the massive outcry. This is proof that if you hold your representatives accountable, if you hold their damn feet to the fire, they will listen. Or we will end. Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. And it shows that people are listening. They're listening to the alternative media. Us.
Yes. And it's not just me and it's not just you. There are literally tens of thousands of podcasts and radio shows across this country. And people are screaming at the top of their lungs, well, damn it, somebody finally listened to something. It might be a small battle, but what it says to you and me is our voice is still significant if we can speak in a loud enough voice. How do we speak in a loud enough voice? We speak in a unified voice. If 93%, and I didn't do this poll, Google it. Every time I say Google it, I mean it.
Yes, he does.
Over 90% of the population of this country is for labeling GMOs. Our president was all for that until he got into office. Oops! Just another bit of proof that they'll do and say anything to get elected. Once they're elected, it's a totally different story. So we stopped the Monsanto Protection Act from being extended, which means they no longer enjoy immunity from prosecution, which they had for the last 3 months. Isn't that nice? Okay. So I really, really needed to get through that because that touches on the subject of our new phase here, our new topic, our new series, and on the old. Because I ranted on and on for, I probably brought it up in every one of the last 7 shows, that we ourselves hold a vast majority of the blame for what is going wrong in this country. And if you don't believe that, again, you're listening to the wrong show. Damn it, take responsibility for what we haven't done. Not for what we've done. For what we haven't done. Things are changing. And there's a lot of people in Washington that are beginning to wake up to the fact there's a lot of freaking angry people in this country. We're holding them accountable. Not often enough yet, and not in a big enough voice. But that's coming.
You know, Roger, I had been asked one time, I said, I have absolutely no faith in our government as it stands. And someone said to me, so where are you going to go? I said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay right here and do what I can to change it. Where are you going to go? Like, oh, you don't like this? Leave? That's not how I'm looking at it.
And I've heard a lot of people say that. America sucks. My God, this place has gone down the shitter. I'm getting out of here. I'm going to expatriate. Oh, well, go. Because I can tell you something. It doesn't matter where you go on this planet. If this country continues along the path that it is, we're going to find you. And we're going to be the 800-pound gorilla on the block making your life miserable. What part of the world are you going to go to that America doesn't have some evil influence in right now? And I'm not saying America as in you and me, because people around the world love Americans. That might be very weird for you to hear. But we have contributors and contacts in well over 30 countries. I haven't counted them. I know it's over 30, though. We just got an update on the Syrian issue from a person who lives in Jordan. We just got an update on the sectarian violence between Shias and Sunnis and a history on it from a contributor in Istanbul, Turkey. Okay, we have people love Americans. They freaking hate our government. There's no other country on the face of the earth where that separation is made. If you don't like Hungarians, it's their government and the people you don't like. If you don't like Italians, it's the government and the people you don't like. But if you go to a vast majority of the countries in this world, they absolutely love Americans. They love our bravado. They love our free manners, our lifestyle. They love our kickback swagger. They love Americans. But they can give you a painful earful about our evil government. And if I hear American exceptionalism one more time from our president, God, that pisses me off.
Me too.
We're not exceptional. We might be special because we're Americans, but that is special to Americans. We hold no higher spot in God's eyes than somebody from Italy or Hungary or Turkey or any country on the face of the earth. The Philippines, we're no better than any other human being alive on this planet. We're not exceptional. When you use the word exceptional, you're saying we stand above everybody else. No. Is our technology better? Well, it used to be. Is our ability to travel in space better? Well, it used to be. Is our economy better? Well, it used to be. Is our industrial base better? Well, it used to be. Are you getting the hint? If we were that exceptional, what the hell is happening? If we were that exceptional, none of this would be happening. But it is. I'm going to stop beating myself and everybody in this group up here, but I will reiterate one more time. We need to hold ourselves accountable for our lack of actions, because it is through our lack of actions that a lot of this has happened. Our lack, well, again, find out how your senators vote. Check once a week. Find out how your congressman votes or your representative votes. Check once a week. And if it's not the way, if it's tyrannical, if it's anti-constitutional, send them an email. Give them a phone call. Give them a piece of your mind. Let them know it works. And at that point, we can stop saying it's our fault. And once their feet are over the fire, maybe we can stop saying it's their fault. All right, Paula. Yeah, I'm just getting over a sore throat, and I have a feeling we've got a little over a half hour left. In the next 34 minutes, I'm going to beat up all of the gains I made in the last day and a half. But that's okay, because I'm having fun. I missed this. I did.
Oh,
How about you?
Oh, absolutely. Things are right now. We're back on track. We're ready to tell it.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so let's talk. Let's do a general overview on the 4 topics we're going to be covering. Okay, let's first talk about, and I'm going to shoot from the hip here because I really want to reserve the article. This is all based on the article, but I really want to reserve the majority of this article for the next 4 shows. We will use other articles, but this will be the blueprint. Okay, so we'll touch on each one quickly, just so that you know the direction we're going in. And let's start off with, why do I say 4 weapons of mass destruction humanity may not survive? Well, let's go over the 4 topics real quickly, okay? Not delve into them. Let's just name them and state why I feel this way. All right? The 4 of them are, and if you're looking at the article, it states right in there, a nice little list that says, and I think I've already said this once, the 4 are perpetual warfare, genetically modified organisms, GMOs, vaccinations, and aerial spraying or atmospheric spraying, which we call chemtrails. So why do I say therefore weapons of mass destruction humanity may not survive? All right, perpetual warfare. The sad thing is, if you count from the original Gulf War to today, there is a generation alive out there, okay, that has never known anything but this country at war. Even if you start in the year 2001, this is 2013, and we're screaming towards 2014. So we have 14-year-old kids who have never known anything but this nation at war.
Absolutely. I have 3 sons. One of them's 14, one 11, and they don't remember this country without war.
And if you stop and think that...
14 years.
And agreed. But let's also stop and think that most children aren't awake and aware of these topics. They really don't influence them much until they're 10 or 11 years old. So if you say 10, 11, 12 years old, and then you add 13 years onto that, that's 25 years old. So we have an entire generation of Americans who have never known anything but this country at war. We also have a president who ran for president, making promise after promise after promise that he would bring these unjust wars to an end. We were involved in 2 wars at the time, and I don't even consider them wars. They're illegal police actions. All right? I'm not saying that we weren't justified in going into Afghanistan if you believe that 19 Muslims with box cutters outwitted the most powerful nation and how many other nations on the face of the earth, and the only superpower remaining grabbed a hold of 19 box cutters and destroyed the World Trade Center. I personally don't.
I don't either.
And there is a new poll out, Google it, that states that conspiracy theorists are no longer the people who believe that the government is lying about 9/11. Believe this. Google it. The conspiracy theorists now are the people who believe the government's story. Because the vast majority of the people in this country now believe the government is lying to us. And the 9/11 Commission report is lying to us about what happened on 9/11. So we are no longer the conspiracy theorists. Google this. The people who believe the government are now considered the conspiracy theorists. Again, when you speak loud enough, and when I say loud enough, I mean in a unified voice of massive numbers, it's amazing you can see the shift, the paradigm shift happening. And it is. We may never bring these people to justice, but what it has done, it has proven to us that our government cannot be trusted. Congress has less than a 10% approval rate. This is the most unpopular president right now in the history. Even Bush was more popular than this in his second term. Give me a break.
Oh, that's sad. Oh.
This is the most untrusted government in modern history. We have the lowest faith factor of any sitting president, including guys like Jimmy Carter. Give me a break. When you're less popular than Jimmy Carter was, oops. When you're less popular than Richard Nixon was, oops. But yet, this president not only has perpetuated, and when he tells you we have left Iraq and we're leaving Afghanistan, bullshit. Do some research. Find out how many people we've actually got there. And for just about every soldier he's pulled out of there, we've put a mercenary in their place. And we're paying them 3 times as much. Well, we, meaning you and me with our taxes. Or the Federal Reserve, which just prints an extra $40 billion here and there. You know, whenever they need it, whenever they want it. But that's another show, which we're going to get to. So not only have we perpetuated the 2 wars we were in, but we have attacked Libya. We have attacked, how many other nations? Stop and think about it. How many nations? Pakistan. We don't call that a war, but yet we cross their sovereign borders every day and do missile strikes against their sovereign territory. We kill people. And to our government's own admittance, over 90% of the people killed are collateral damage. I'm going to tell you what the term collateral damage is. It's a coward's way of saying we're killing innocent people. If I say collateral damage, does that absolve me of anything? Out of 100 people killed, if 90, that's the low end, and some people and some statistics say as much as 98%, so 98 out of 100 people killed were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. How freaking evil are we? When we did carpet bombing in Libya, did we tell those bombs, don't kill any innocent women and children? Or did we just drop massive loads of bombs? I don't care how smart a smart bomb is. And when you carpet bomb, you don't use smart bombs. There's always going to be collateral damage. Well, our own government admits that over 90% of the people killed are collateral damage. We've been doing this since 2001. The amount of people we have killed, total, either approaches or passes 3 million in all countries concerned.
That's just so evil, so sick.
Sudan. We do strikes in Sudan anytime we want. We've got boots on the ground in Sudan. The only reason we're not in Syria right now is because there's Chinese cruisers and Russian warships and troops waiting right off the coast saying, go ahead, screw up. Yes, we have the most powerful military on the face of the earth, and of this I'm proud. But what the hell are we doing with it? That I'm not proud of. I spent 30 years either in the military, almost 30 years, either in the military or working for the DOD as a defense contractor. I know of what I speak. I'm one of the people that worked his ass off to make sure we had the best military on the face of this earth, but not to be used this way. And now we stand on the precipice of World War III. If you don't believe it, listen to Putin. I'm not a Putin butt buddy. I don't kiss his ass. I don't think the sun rises and sets on this idiot. But every once in a while, even out of the mouths of tyrants and idiots comes sense. Common sense. He is appealing directly to the American people. Isn't your government a government of the people? Aren't you responsible for what your government does? Don't you need to be aware of what's happening? He is appealing to us because he knows we stand on the precipice of World War III. That's where perpetual warfare leads. That's where we're headed. That's why it's number one. It has the most immediate chance of ending all life on this planet. Pakistan has nuclear weapons. China has nuclear weapons. India has nuclear weapons. There are nuclear weapons all over Japan. Israel has nuclear weapons. Great Britain has nuclear weapons. United States has nuclear weapons. You want me to keep going? If we start a volley, and there are countries out there who absolutely will use nukes if they think it's the only way they can keep from having their sovereign territory invaded. It will happen. And once the first one is fired, tuck your head between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye. I don't care if you're in a blast zone or not. If you think that Chernobyl, if you think that Fukushima are bad, get a half a dozen or 15 or 20 of these things popping off all around the world, and life as we know it on this planet is gone. It might take a couple of weeks. It might take a year, but it's inevitable. Believe it or not, it's number one on the hit list of these four. And it's the one we are in the most danger of actually suffering. And it's the closest one. Obama is saying over and over again, I don't need Congress's permission, and now I don't need the United Nations permission. Hell, he doesn't need the UN, he doesn't need Congress's or our permission for anything. He can't get a gun ban passed in Congress, so he told Kerry to go and sign the UN gun ban anyway. That's treason, my friends. What makes you think he's not going to start World War III just because Congress said no, or he doesn't have the UN's permission to do it? This arrogant tyrant doesn't need anybody's permission but his own. The Congress is a piece of, and I apologize for saying this, it's a piece of toilet paper to this guy.
Yeah.
And he's proven it over and over again. He's going to take us into World War III. And I hope to God not. I really do. That's the next thing we all have to scream very loudly about. Very loudly. I have a lot of sympathy and a lot of pity and a lot of feelings for the people who have died in Syria. I really, really do. Don't think for 1 second I don't. But is it worth the destruction of the human race as we know it? I don't believe so. I believe there are other means of solving this issue. Syria has already given a complete list of every single weapon of mass destruction, chemical weapons and gas weapons that they have. Not only that, but the United States is amazed at how thorough the list is, which proves unequivocally that Assad has control over these weapons. Because if he didn't have control over them, how could the list be as complete as it is? Both the CIA and the government and our military have admitted the list is amazingly complete and accurate. They're willing to step up and say, if it's gas weapons or chemical weapons that you're going to attack us for, we'll put them all on the table. So now this government has to find another reason to go in. Well, might surprise you to find out that a massive amount, way over 50% of the Syrian people back their government. Look that up too. Yes, there's a faction in there that doesn't, but a vast majority do. What right do we have? Well, we're not going in there for anything other than, and we discussed this on one of the shows about the elites, they have everything to gain. We, the people of this country, have everything to lose with a war in Syria. Because a war in Syria will spread around the world at the speed of light, and from the ashes of that war, if there is anything that's salvageable, will rise the New World Order. And they're getting very, very impatient, waiting for the catalyst. I know you're going to remember this. I'm not even going to tell you who said it, but I'm going to give you a quote. And I'm going to tell you, Google it. Okay? All we need is the right critical event, and the world will accept the New World Order. 9/11 was supposed to be it. It has proven to be resistant. It really hasn't done everything it was supposed to do. The biggest thing standing in the way of the New World Order right now are well over 60 million gun owners in the United States who hold a combined arsenal well in excess of 200 million firearms. We have the American civilian population is the largest standing army on the face of the earth. Even if you take all of the other armies in the world and put them together, we outnumber them. That's why Kerry's going to go sign this treaty in the United Nations, and UN forces are going to start coming into this country and taking our weapons away. If you don't believe it, okay, fine. But it'll happen. So we need to push back against that. So that's the first one, perpetual warfare. That's the most immediate one, and that's the one that will have ramifications. In your face, instant ramifications. When the nukes start to fly, there's no place to hide. Number 2, GMOs, genetically modified organisms. And again, I'm not going to go into it too much. I'm just going to touch on what really pisses me off, and then we'll take one topic each week for the next 4 weeks, and then we'll do a recap, and that'll be our 6-part series. Genetically modified organisms, let me see. They sprung up on us in the mid-90s. They started hitting our shelves. In the mid to late 80s is when all of the research was being done on them. They carry with them a stigma that not enough people are aware of. That stigma is that they have ties to autism. And anything I say, I want you to Google. And actually, you can go to the Liberty Beacon, and anything I tell you, you can find articles in our health section that will back this up with links and sites and resources you can go to verify what I'm saying.
That's thelibertybeacon.com.
Thank you, Paula. They have so it's linked to autism. Okay, it's linked to brain disorders. It's linked to gastronomical disorders, and what we found out lately, which most of us, even including myself, were not aware of all the way up until recently, is that the bacteria lining your gut is extremely important to your body. Without that, if it's damaged or if it's killed off, you become a very sickly person and you're more than likely going to die. Well, there is a study that's been released that shows that GMOs, let's face it, BT corn has a pesticide built right into it. It has poison in every cell so that if a bug eats it, his stomach explodes.
When they walk around those cornfields in hazmat suits.
Listen to what I just said. You're right, Paula. I've got pictures of that, and I published them with my articles. If the bug eats it, his stomach explodes. This is the corn they feed all of the livestock that we get our milk from, our meat from, so on and so forth. Not only that, but it's the same freaking corn in the cornmeal, the tortillas, the corn, canned corn, any corn you eat.
And you also mentioned that was your picture that I was referring to, by the way. That's also with the Liberty Beacon on the libertybeacon.com. But it's also 90% of what we're getting here in the States of our corn.
Over 80% of everything on the shelves in the grocery store that has any processing at all in it contains GMOs. That includes the fresh vegetables you get. If you don't think they've been modified, wrong. They have.
Just because it's not in a can does not mean it's not
Or a box.
genetically modified. Exactly.
You're right. And when you take genes from fish and put them in apples, so that apples, and I'm not saying this is what's happening, I'm making a point here, and put the genes in apples so apples don't turn brown, that doesn't mean the apple's not going bad. That just means it's not turning brown. Well, if an apple turns brown, it does so for a reason. It's because it's going bad and you shouldn't be eating it. So because I put a gene from an animal or another plant into an apple to make it so that it stays red longer, that means that it's better for you to eat? Bullshit! That means it's hiding what it should naturally be presenting, which is a warning sign. Don't eat me, I'm brown.
Exactly. It's old. It doesn't need to be consumed. It would have been thrown away. But this is how they feed us their garbage.
So now we've got, it's destroying the gut lining. We've got ties to cancer. We've got ties to autism. We've got ties to leukemia. We've got ties to behavioral disorders and ADHD and a bunch others. I'm not a doctor. I can't recite them all, but I've done research and I've got articles, and so do some of our great contributors have articles that will give you all these. Why is this number 2 on the list? It's number 2 on the list because GMOs are proliferated across the planet. Now, we're told that the Europeans have kicked them out. What we're not told is, yeah, okay, there's stuff that grow in the fields that you can see, yeah. But a lot of the feed that their animals get is still there. Not only that, but so is Roundup. And Roundup is a genetically modified toxin. One of the most poisonous substances ever produced by mankind. So the Europeans aren't getting anywhere near as many GMOs, but they're eating a whole lot more Roundup. And I won't even begin to tell you what Roundup's tied to, because all you got to do is Google it. And that's another show we will go into as part of this series. It will be all about Roundup, the entire show. It's that freaking evil. So what we have is a massive majority of the population of this planet eating poison. We also know that the government has a patent on a corn that was developed in conjunction with a research firm that causes sterility. It was intentionally made to do that. Now here's the real kicker, people. And if you don't believe this, what am I about to say, Paula?
Google it.
Google it. It's illegal for you to find out or to research into whether you're eating that corn or not. Whether that corn is the corn that hits your table. Doesn't that just scare the living shit out of you? It scares the shit out of me.
Keeps me from buying anything with corn or corn.
It's bad. The government helped to develop this and paid to have it patented. And you can't find out whether that's the corn you're eating or not. So, of all of the evils of GMOs and how far they are spread out across the planet, hundreds of thousands of Indian farmers committed suicide because of the failure of promises made by Monsanto were never delivered on. They didn't get the yield. The toxins were killing them and killing their families. The Roundup, they had to use massive amounts of it, so on and so forth. The seeds, they charge them an arm and a leg for the seeds, and obviously you have to buy Monsanto seeds. You can't use your own, otherwise you end up in jail or sued. It's number 2 on the list because it is so widely spread out across this planet. It affects so many people. And if you look at some of the new research that has come out from France and other countries that prove unequivocally there is no doubt that GMOs cause cancer. There is no doubt. Look at the rats with tumors the size of golf balls that were fed nothing but Monsanto grain. Then look at the control group that have no tumors and are twice the size. Look at the fact that the 3rd generation of those rats are sterile. Whereas in the control group, there is no sterility. What do we have to do to say to our government, you're freaking poisoning us? So that's number 2. It's not number 1 because it's not going to kill everybody off like a bunch of nuke bombs would in a short period of time. We'll become sterile, we'll become poison. Autism, we're the number 1 in the world. Ain't we proud? We're number 1 at something. Dementia, number 1 in the world. The United States on both. They both have links to GMOs. Do the research. Google it. We are the most vaccinated and the most GMO'd population on the face of the earth. And we have one of the highest rates of cancer, the highest rate of dementia, and the highest rate of autism on the planet. By God, how far does coincidence reach? Isn't there a point where coincidence drops and it's a fact comes in? I've got 5 minutes, so I need to touch on the other 2. But that's number 1 and number 2. Number 3 is vaccinations. Vaccinations have been tied to cancer. Vaccinations have been tied to autism because vaccines, especially in 3rd world countries, because mercury might have been pulled out of a majority of, not all, of the thermosol, the mercury in our vaccines might have been pulled out. There is still some. And in some vaccines, there is some. But in third world countries, they're allowed to put it in just as strong as it ever was. It is proven to break across the blood-brain barrier. Once you do that, any other poison that is in that vaccine, and it's full of them, Google a list of vaccine contents or ingredients. Once you break that blood-brain barrier, then the brain is susceptible to damage. Ask Paula about this. I apologize, Paula, but when we discuss vaccines, I'm going to bring you into the conversation heavily because you are probably more affected by this than most people.
No problem. I'm living it.
Yeah, she has a vaccine-damaged child. So we're going to have firsthand experiences and firsthand discussion on this. Vaccinations have been tied to so many maladies, it is ridiculous. Okay? These girls that are getting the Gardasil shots, that is a horror story. That's a whole show by itself. And the stuff I'm going to bring out, you won't believe, and you will Google it because you're going to say, he's got to be full of shit. This can't be true. But everything I'm going to tell you about these vaccinations, I will back up with facts and proof. And the last one, chemtrails. We keep hearing over and over again that chemtrails don't exist. They're contrails. I put pictures up over and over again because chemtrails are usually done not over heavily populated areas. They're usually done over sparsely populated areas. But that doesn't mean you won't see them over cities. You will. But out in the middle of Nevada, the middle of Arizona, when there's not an airport for hundreds and hundreds of miles around, and you get up in the morning and you look up in the sky and there's a freaking checkerboard over your head. A checkerboard. It looks like a tic-tac-toe board. So what? You got a bunch of jumbo jets that didn't have anything better than to play tic-tac-toe in the sky over your freaking house, which is 100 miles or 1,000 miles off the beaten path of any major airport? And they're perfect patterns. 10 rows going this way, 10 evenly rows going that way. Explain that to me. Explain the high levels of toxic metals sampled in the ground after these sprayings. Explain putting a glass of water out when you see it in the sky, and the next day looking at that glass of water and the entire surface it has a metallic sheen on it. Now you've got a perfectly clear sky. Put another glass of water out, bring it in the next day. It's a clear glass of water. We're nuts, though. So that's the 4. And I'm calming down because we only have a minute left. And let my heartbeat go down, Paula.
Sure.
But that's what we're going over for the next 4 weeks. Actually, the next 6 weeks. So I will provide all of the links you need. I will provide, every time I say Google it, write down the short blurb I give you. Write down the name, the topic, whatever it is. And Google it. Please do this. I don't want anybody to ever take anything I say for granted. And what I want to do is empower you to do some research on this and maybe add to our knowledge. You might find out some things we're not aware of. You might become a very valuable portion of this organization. And any feedback is great. Okay, people, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And Paula, I guess we'll talk again next week.
Thank you. See you later, Roger. Good night.
Good night.